sweating like a ham in August. God, look at that. Awesome. That's what Daff would say. Awesome, Aunt Kate. Not the word I'd use. Scary, maybe? Oh, 30 years since I last clambered up here. Oh, having a bit of a power surge. Now, what was it Dav said? Oh, yes. Sit up straight. Cover your left nostril. Breathe in through the right nostril. Hold, and then exhale through the left nostril. Or was it the right? Cover your right nostril. Breathe in through the left. Hold, and... Oh, bugger it. Just get on with it. It's the perfect spot. Oh, I'm melting. Where are the blustery autumnal winds? I'm evaporating. Too many layers. I'm either overdressed, resembling a sack of spuds, or underdressed and shivering with nipples like organ stops. Oh, just do it. And thank your lucky stars, at least you've got the place to yourself.
I'm every mountain.
That'd be right.
Fold every stream.
Well done, Kate.
Follow every rain. But, to be fair, not as musical as I once was. Nothing against time's scythe can make defence, etc. Do you mind if I just perch here for a moment? I've been sat down, walking round all morning, absolutely pooped. God in heaven.
Sorry?
I honestly do not believe the stupidity of some people. Well, look at that. Look at that.
What?
The black plastic bag full of dog stuff hanging from my bench. Well, obviously it's not actually my bench, but I say my bench because it is the one I prefer to sit on when contemplating the beauty of Mother Nature, etc. However, some moronic dog owner has decided to use the bench to display their precious little mutt's mouldering feces. I mean, what on earth are they thinking about? Exactly. They are not thinking. That's the problem, the stupid, selfish, brainless... Oh, my God, it's not yours, is it?
What?
Well, I don't mean... Of course I don't mean are the actual contents yours. I just mean I hope it's not your dog that's responsible.
I don't have a dog.
Thank God for that.
Possibly the dog owner might dispose of it later, when they finish their walk.
Possibly. But then the road to Damascus is paved with good intentions.
I think it's hell.
It certainly is.
No, I mean, I think, in fact, I'm sure the correct expression is the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Oh, well, it doesn't matter. You get my meaning.
Perhaps we should give them the benefit of the doubt.
But even if that were the dog owner's intention, why should they continue their walk unencumbered and leave our bench festooned with the plastic-covered contents of their dog's bowels? And just supposing that is their excuse, I bet you they'll somehow manage to forget exactly where they left their little darlings' ploppy poos. I mean, man has been walking this hillside for millennia, gazing at the horizon, seeking solace, inspiration. The least we can do is treat it with respect.
Well,
and although I pride myself on being a peace-loving sort of individual, that kind of thing makes me want to bring back hanging.
What?
Trust me, the death penalty is the only answer for that kind of mindless vandalism. Fortunately, this view always restores my equilibrium.
It does?
It does. No matter how many times I gaze at that, I'm almost prepared to believe there are more things in heaven and hell, etc.
Earth. More things in heaven and earth.
I thought you just said it was hell.
No, that was another.
Oh, don't worry. I get my words mixed up too sometimes. Let's just concentrate on this. Always worth the climb. Awesome.
Awesome?
Isn't it?
No. What I mean is, earlier, before you came, well, I was wondering about the word awesome. Does it necessarily describe something positive? I mean, to be in awe can be intimidating, scary. I'm probably taking it too literally. Ignore me.
No, not at all. To be fair, I think I can see where you're coming from. To be in awe can be a humbling experience, and I suppose the view reminds us of how small and unimportant we mortals are in the great scheme of things.
Yes, I suppose that might be it.
I get that feeling looking at the night sky. I mean, the sheer scale. The numbers involved are so mind-bogglingly incomprehensible that one can't help but feel insignificant.
Insignificant.
Realising that we're all nothing but little specks of meaningless dust adrift in the universe.
Thanks for that.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to...
Don't be. It's me. I'm being silly.
And infinity. I mean, what's all that about?
Oh, no idea.
And yet somehow, the very incomprehensible scale of it all provides a sort of comfort, if that makes sense.
Comfort? I don't feel comforted. It just makes me feel alone.
Ah, alone? Well, yes, again, I think I can see where you're coming from. But doesn't the very vastness of space give reasonable grounds for optimism, some sort of hope?
What kind of hope? The hope that we won't mind terribly much being lonely little specks of meaningless dust adrift in the universe.
The hope that obscured somewhere in the hugeness and nothingness of it all, there's some sort of explanation as to why it isn't meaningless.
Then why did you say we'd all end up little specks of meaningless dust?
It's a paradox.
It's a load of old twaddle is what it is.
Twaddle?
Sorry, I don't mean to be rude, because I too hate the thought of life being meaningless, but I'd rather be honest with myself and accept the fact that probably there's very little point in anything. Life at best is a happy, random accident. And at worst, a cruel chemical cock-up.
Well, the universe might be nothing but twaddle and cock-up. But isn't it better to travel in hope?
And isn't that letting hope triumph over experience?
Well, you've got me there. We've never met before, and within 5 minutes, I startle you with my tuneless rendition of Climb Every... what's it? Invade your space and talk endless twaddle. I do apologise.
It's okay. I like twaddle. I mean, I'm always talking rubbish myself, usually to myself. So it really doesn't matter if what you're saying doesn't make a lot of sense. Because I like what it is I think you're trying to say. Even if it is twaddle.
Yeah. Well, you might be right. But for me, at least, this view always puts things into perspective. Especially during Black Dog down in the dump days.
I think I understand that one. So you get them too?
Oh, God, yes. Been there, done that. Taken the biscuit. However, at the moment, I'm enjoying a little calm before the inevitable storm. Another one of my twaddle theories is that the further off something is, the more pointless it is to worry about it.
Christmas.
Sorry?
Christmas. The further off it is, the more pointless it is worrying about it.
Absolutely.
Dental appointments.
Marriage.
Oh, you're married?
Oh, yes. I wasn't always round-shouldered.
My niece, a staunch feminist, would say that was a sexist remark.
Oh, well, then my apologies to your niece, but I have genuinely observed that the greater the distance between Morwenna and myself, the less stooped I become.
Morwenna?
Morwenna, my trouble and strife. Oh, sorry, still joking. To be fair, she's an extraordinary woman.
Morwenna's an unusual name. Not unusual as in weird or anything, just not that common.
And it's highly appropriate because Morwenna is an unusual woman, and she would hate to think anyone thought her in the least bit common.
So in what way is she unusual?
Well, to be fair, she's not in the best of health.
Oh dear, I'm sorry.
She suffers from an excess of extreme sensitivity, a martyr to the memory of her first husband.
Her first husband?
Yes, I'm a second victim. Husband.
So Morwenna was a widow before she married you?
She was. And apparently, the years she spent as a widow were amongst the happiest days of her life.
Really?
If you were half the man my first husband was, you'd do the decent thing and make me a widow again.
Does she really sound like Anne Widdecombe?
They could be sisters.
Is she able to climb the hill? Admire the view with you?
Good Lord, no. She'd never get up here, breaks into a sweat cleaning her teeth.
Sorry?
Although, to be fair, a couple of months ago she braved an outing to the apple orchard, absolutely determined to enjoy a nap in the hammock.
And?
Oh, didn't turn out too well.
Why? What happened?
Well, she plonked herself down in the hammock and immediately uprooted 2 apple trees.
Another joke.
Sorry, force of habit. To be fair, it's a sort of survival technique.
I wonder what survival techniques Morwenna uses.
Sorry? Do you know, this probably doesn't make any sense, but sometimes you sound vaguely familiar.
Horton.
Well, yes, how on
Katherine.
earth? Katherine.
Kate.
Kate.
Pete's wife.
Pete. Katherine. Kate! Oh, Kate, it's Horton! Horton!
I know who you are, Horton. It was me who recognised you, remember?
Oh, you haven't changed.
Then why didn't you recognise me? I have changed, Horton. And so have you. Physically, anyway.
Physically?
Well, it wasn't your face I recognised. It was only when you mentioned Morwenna I realised who you were.
How flattering.
Well, you didn't recognise me.
Ah, but to be fair, Kate, it was me who thought I recognised you first.
No, I'd worked out who you were way before you thought you recognised my voice. My voice, mind you. Not my ageless beauty.
Good point, Kate. Well made. But to be fair, it has been a good few years, so I must say it's lovely to see you again after all this time.
It's good to see you too, Horton.
So how are you? How's Pete, your significant other, as they say? My God, what a card. Talk about alternative sense of humour. What a character.
What a character.
And you! Do you know, I still have a tiny dent at the back of my head where you whacked me with some instrument or other. Do you remember? I bet you do.
I remember.
To be fair, you were a bit of a loose cannon back then, Kate.
Was I? That must have been some other Kate. Some other life.
Well, I must admit the Kate I'm talking to now does seem a little bit calmer. Obviously, that's what a life of married bliss can do for you.
Married bliss.
Calmed you down a bit.
Calm me down.
I bet it has. So, what on earth, in heaven's name, out of the blue like this, are you doing on Cleeve Hill? I mean, it's really lovely to see you again, but I've heard neither hide nor hair of the pair of you since you moved to Bath.
Pete, it'll only be for a few days, please.
How many times do I have to say it? This is your home now, Kate. Why can't you appreciate what you have?
I do. I just haven't been home for over a year.
This is your home, Kate?
Yes, of course, I know. This is my home. But I'd like to see my old home. See Dad. He's not getting any younger.
And do you really think he wants to see you? He couldn't wait to see the back of you.
It's different now. We might
Why must you continually contradict me?
I don't.
You're doing it now.
Sorry.
You disappoint me, Kate. You really disappoint me.
I've seen neither hide nor hair of the pair of you since you moved to Bath.
I know.
So, how many years has it been since you left Cheltenham? 50? 20?
30. 30 years, almost.
No, 30. Good heavens, you get less for murder.
What do you mean?
Well, surely you've heard that one before.
What are you talking about?
Well, just that a long marriage is comparable to a lengthy prison sentence, and I should know.
Oh, I see. Another joke.
Well, I suppose so. So, 30 years. Yes, of course, it must be 30 years, because Morwenna and I will be... What's the word? Celebrating, yes? I think that's the word people use. Soon we will be celebrating our pearl wedding anniversary.
30 years.
Who'd have thought when I left the house this morning, I'd be running into my past. Kate the cur. Can it really be 30 years?
30 years?
Do you have any children?
No. No children. I do have a wonderful niece, Daphne, or Daff, as I call her, Luke and Bee's daughter. I'm sure you remember my sister Bee.
Yes, pretty girl. Bit of a dark goose, looked as though she wouldn't say boo to a horse.
Boo to a horse?
Oh, I remember Bee very well.
Yes, well, unfortunately, Luke and Bee decided to go their separate ways a while ago now. Bee's living in Hampstead, writing food reviews for posh Sunday newspapers.
Well, who knew?
Who knew what?
Well, who knew your little sister could be so resourceful?
I did.
Okay. What about Luke? How's he doing?
Poor long-suffering Luke has been trying to find himself somewhere in India. Daff says he's trapped in a 70s time warp.
Oh, doesn't really float my cup of tea, that sort of thing. But apparently nowadays, a lot of retired type people are enjoying a new lease of life in India, if they can cope with the plumbing.
He can't. He's having a miserable time. Lost an awful lot of weight.
Really? I wonder if Morwenna fancies a trip to Delhi.
So Daff is living with me at the moment, and I get to play the doting aunt.
And Pete the doting uncle.
Her real name's Daphne, but I've called her Daff since she was a toddler. She's a bright girl, now in her final year at uni, doing gender studies.
I've heard of that. Is it exactly?
It's mainly about equality of opportunity. Are you familiar with the word equality? She's a strong-minded, fun-loving, independent young feminist, and I'm very proud of her.
Well, to be fair, Kate, I remember her aunt being quite a strong-minded individual.
Back then, maybe. Not now. Pete, we haven't been to the theatre in ages. Oh, please, Pete, I'd really like to go.
Please, Pete, I'd really like to go.
It's a comedy. You'll enjoy it.
I don't like theatre.
I know. I just thought...
Why is it always about you?
It's not. All right. I'll go on my own if you'd rather not see it.
Oh, yeah. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
No. Obviously, I'd rather go with you than go on my own.
Well, I'm not going. And you're not going on your own. So you just have to go with one of your friends.
I no longer have any friends.
Oh. And no prizes for guessing why you don't have any friends.
Because I hardly ever leave this bloody house.
Because no one likes a frumpy, foul-mouthed, middle-aged, bad-tempered bore.
What?
I'm right, aren't I? Aren't I?
Is that what you think?
Why don't you go to bed? You look a mess. Go on. Go to bed.
Back then, maybe. Not now.
I don't believe that, Kate. You'll always be a force of nature.
Not anymore. How about you and Morwenna? Do you have children?
No.
So it's just the two of you?
Oh, and the gardener. Antonio.
He's a nice bloke. Italian. Green fingers, which you have to admit is a bit of a plus for a gardener. And he's got eyes that would stop bullets.
Really? What colour?
Brown. Yeah, yeah, I think they're brown. So, what's Pete up to these days?
Very little.
Busy keeping you in check, if I know Pete.
You knew Pete quite well, didn't you?
Well, sort of. But to be fair, I always wondered why he ever bothered with boring old me.
You were easy to control, Horton, and he thought you might be of use to him.
Oh, well, tell it like it is, Kate.
Sorry. I didn't mean to be rude.
No, you're right. You've hit the hammer on the head. No chance in controlling you, though. I'm sure he tried it. Was he mellowed at all?
Has my husband mellowed? Has my lord, my life, my keeper, my head, my sovereign mellowed? Whilst I simply lays warm at home, secure and safe, knowing he craves no other tribute but love, fair looks and true obedience, because, of course, if I am not obedient, what am I? But a foul contending rebel and graceless traitor to my loving lord?
I'll take that as a no, then.
And therefore, I am bound to serve, love and obey, and at all times be willing to place my hand below my husband's foot.
Foot. Now I remember. Towards the end of the evening at Bee's wedding. Am I right?
Right. I'm impressed you remember my little jest after all these years.
Oh, I always knew it was a joke.
A sense of humour is important to you, isn't it, Horton?
God, yes. Laugh or medicate, I say.
Because you've obviously retained a talent for making women the butt of humourless jokes.
Steady.
Jokes about Morwenna? Your survival technique for dealing with your wife?
Well, it's just a harmless bit of fun. To be fair, it's no different from the over-the-top banter between you and Pete.
Banter?
Yes, banter. Declaring endless obedience to your alpha butch husband, all that over-egging the pudding with brass knobs.
Brass knobs.
Oh, don't worry. We all saw through that butter wouldn't melt a shrinking violet stuff. You know exactly what I'm talking about.
No, not really.
Well, you and Pete were in cahoots, playing the same game, making Luke and me look ridiculous.
You didn't need any help from us.
I'll ignore that, Kate. I remember Pete carting you off to the old matrimonial what's-it, leaving Luke and me with egg all over our face and out of pocket. I remember it all. Well, most of it.
Well, I'm sure losing a large sum of money in a wager with Pete would help cement the event firmly in your mind. What was the bet? Exactly?
Oh, well, that's the bit I forget.
Let me refresh your memory. It was something along the lines of you not believing in a million years that Pete would be able to control my vinegar tongue. No one could tame Kate the Cursed.
Ah, well, Kate the Cursed. But possibly it was something along those lines. But you know how it is at weddings. We'd all been drinking, all a little bit merry.
But of course, he did succeed, and you lost the wager. Did you lose much?
I don't remember. It was nothing, just a harmless bit of fun.
Harmless?
Well, to be fair, Morwenna wasn't best pleased, but she got over it eventually.
I wasn't questioning the harm it did to you or Morwenna, but the harm it did to me.
You? Well, how were you harmed?
I didn't win the wager.
Well, yet, no. I mean, you and Pete were obviously operating as one, and it was only a bit of fun. Boys being boys.
Men being men. And me no longer being me. Did you honestly honestly believe I had willingly allowed myself to be transformed into a perfect, submissive little wife. A wife who was ready, willing and able to place her hand below her husband's foot.
When you put it like that, I mean, to be fair, when you put it like that, it all sounds a bit heavy, but we've moved on a bit since then, haven't we? It seemed jolly enough at the time, and anyway, you have to look at these things in context, if that makes sense.
Context.
Well, it was sort of acceptable back then, and to be fair, Kate, you could be a little feisty, and I thought, well, your dad thought, well, we all thought that Pete would be the man to curb some of your...
Some of my what?
Well, control.
Control.
Well, if you'll pardon my being blunt, Kate, there were those who thought that occasionally you could be a little too spirited.
Spirited?
Yes, spirited. And I confess, at the time, I thought so too, but possibly I was... Well, I might have misjudged the situation, and I might have been wrong about certain things.
Wrong?
Well, God knows I was wrong about Morwenna, but... So I might have been wrong about other things too. But that night, I hope the two of you were happy.
Happy?
I'm sorry, Kate, but it's a little disconcerting when you just keep repeating a single word from whatever it is I'm rambling on about.
Disconcerting?
Well, like that, just like you just did it again. Please, Kate, I admit that evening maybe your grin was a little fixed, but I assumed you were happy. You looked happy-ish. Well, happier than I'd ever seen you look before.
I wasn't happy. It was a novel experience, being the focus of attention. If I had any positive emotion at all, it was relief.
Relief?
Now you're doing it.
Doing what?
Well,
Oh, sorry.
Pete noticed me for myself. Not merely as some obstacle preventing men like you from seducing my sister.
Ah, well, you might not believe me, but for all sorts of reasons, I am genuinely glad I never actually managed to win Bee's affection.
I do believe you. And believe me, you had a lucky escape.
Really? Who knew?
I knew. But I wasn't that lucky. Pete wasn't going anywhere. He needed money, and he needed to be in control.
Well, some might say, I'm not saying I agree with them, but some people might say that is a husband's role. And God knows I've tried to manage Morwenna's behaviour, but let's just say I never had Pete's sex appeal.
Sex appeal?
Well, charisma.
Charisma? Oh, Orton, there are many ways of making relationships work. Charisma might be one of them. That wasn't Pete's way.
What's his way?
Bullying. This once spirited woman, transformed into the wee timorous mousie you see before you, has been brought about by the unstinting efforts of a self-centered, egotistical, domineering bully.
Well, to be fair, Kate, you don't sound that timorous.
Sorry?
Look, I know Pete could be, well, he probably still is a little eccentric.
He's dead.
But... Sorry?
He's dead.
Dead.
6 months ago.
Pete's dead?
Yes, he's dead. He can't bully me anymore. That's why I'm here. I'm free to scatter his ashes wherever I choose. And then you turn up, pretending to be Julie sodding Andrews and worrying about dog poo.
Oh, my God. Poor Pete, I am so sorry.
Don't be.
This is Pete.
No, it's the Duke of Flaming Edinburgh. Of course it's Pete. Perhaps you'd like to help me scatter him.
Pardon, what? No, I don't think...
Go on. Add a sprinkling of Pete to all the other specks of meaningless sodding dust drifting about in the never-ending sodding cosmos.
Oh, steady, Kate. Come and sit down. Steady. Breathe nice and deep. Sometimes it helps if you block the left nostril and then breathe.
Oh, not you too, Horton. Right at this moment, I prefer not to have to deal with the complexities of left and right nostrils. Thank you very much.
Yes. Sorry, perhaps I should leave you in pieces. But in peace, I mean. But of course, I don't want to leave you if you're feeling too upset.
I'm fine, thank you, Horton. A little emotional and overheated maybe, but that's hormones, not grief. To be honest, I feel more myself now than I've done in ages. I'm told it's a slow process.
The grieving process, you mean? 7 stages, I believe. Disbelief, denial, bargaining, guilt, anger, depression, finally acceptance.
For God's sake, Horton!
Number 5, the angry stage.
I am not angry.
Denial. That's only the 2nd stage, I'm afraid, Kate. Look, I am no expert, but I do know that it takes some people a lot longer than others to go through the whole grieving process.
You don't understand. I'm not grieving. I'm not angry because Pete's dead. If I'm angry at all, it's because he didn't die 30 bloody years ago.
Oh, my God. I know you don't mean what you're saying. You're in shock.
I am not in shock.
Well, I am. And to be fair, I also feel a tad ashamed. I mean, I did try to keep in touch in the beginning when you first left Cheltenham, but fine words and all that, butter no pumpkins.
Parsnips.
Pardon? But fine words, butter no parsnip. Yes, of course it is. But to be fair, does it really matter? Pumpkins or parsnips? What's important is what I'm trying to say. What was I saying?
Keeping in touch.
Ah, yes. I mean, I did try to keep in touch in the beginning when you first moved to Bath, but never heard a dicky bird, never got a reply.
As far as Pete was concerned, you'd outlived your usefulness, Horton. We returned to Bath, where he'd grown up and I knew no one.
If it's as bad as you're suggesting, why on earth did you stay with him for 30 years?
Cowardice. Pete was in control even when he was out of control. So I adapted my behaviour, my survival technique. And anyway, I had no money, except for a meagre housekeeping allowance.
You had all that.
He controlled all the finances.
Well, surely your dad...
Until about 6 or 7 years ago, when he was diagnosed with ARD. Oh, alcohol-related dementia.
Dementia? God, is that how he...
What does it matter how he died? Let's worry about important issues like black plastic-covered dog shit.
Language, Kate. Pete's ashes are less than 2 feet away.
Well, you use language like that.
Well, if you remember correctly, Kate, I use terms such as ploppy poos and the like, not what you just said. And anyway, at the time, I didn't know Pete was in your rucksack.
He's dead.
I know. Oh, look, Kate, you are going through a really bad time at the moment, and I am truly sorry for anything I got wrong. But back then, you never struck me as one of life's victims. Surely you could have found a way to leave him.
Possibly. But I'd been tamed too well. What's your excuse for not leaving Morwenna? How could I leave him when he'd become virtually helpless? A child crying for his long-dead dad who never actually loved him anyway.
Oh, he always spoke fondly of his father. I thought they were close.
No. Strange, really. Pete and I had similar issues regarding the lack of paternal affection. We had that much in common, at least. I suppose, as the power roles were slowly reversed, it would have been easy for me to leave. But I didn't. For some perverse reason, I hung on. Although, occasionally, I did contemplate the best way of making his life a living hell. Only I didn't do that either. Because Of course, it already was.
Kate, I'm so sorry.
Were you willfully blind?
What?
Did you genuinely think it was a bit of harmless fun? Encouraging Pete's thirst for control by betting on whose wife would be the most biddable? Was it amusing? A good laugh discovering who would be the most submissive?
I don't think I was willfully blind. Unthinking, maybe. But back then, I thought you were more than a match for him, for any man.
Be honest, Horton. You never liked me, did you?
You seemed constantly angry.
You're right. I was angry.
Why?
I'm not sure. I knew I was a misfit. B was the chosen one, and I wasn't very likable. That made me angry, which in turn made me more difficult to like, which made me angry. Oh, I don't know. It's too long ago.
I'm sorry, Kate. Sorry if it sounds like I'm continuously apologising, but I am genuinely sorry.
Don't worry. I've had tougher things to deal with than realising I wasn't Little Miss Popular. I'm also menopausal.
Oh, would you like? I mean, do you need any?
No, I'm fine. But I think I would like to be alone now, if you don't mind.
Oh, yes, of course. Will you be all right?
Horton, I'm sorry too. I'm sorry for raising my voice. Sorry for shouting at you. It's actually been surprisingly lovely seeing you again. Please, let's not leave it another 30 years.
No, of course not.
I'm hoping to move back to Cheltenham.
You are? Well, that's wonderful. At least it's not all bad news.
Daff wants to come with me, just for the time being, until she's ready to spread her wings. I'll be fine. Thanks, Horton.
What for?
For listening. For putting up with me, whining on. But if you wouldn't mind, I ought to get on with what I came to do.
Yes, of course. Will you be okay?
I'll be fine.
Bye.
Bye. This hill is not getting any flatter. Oh, and there it is. There's the reason people climb this oversized lump of limestone. The view. I suppose it is quite impressive. Especially in April. Oh, to be on Cleeve Hill. Now that April's here. Good. A dog poo-free bench. That'll please Horton. Oh, if he turns up, that is. Oh, I hope he does. I didn't scare him off last time. Oh. You can see for miles.
I love to go wandering
Horton.
along the mountain track. And as I go, I love to sing my knapsack on my back. Valderie,
Valdera!
Valderie, Valdera. Okay. Goodness, you look well.
Oh, it's so good to see you, Horton. I'm glad you got Dav's message. And even more glad you decided to come. Thank you.
Oh, of course I'd come. I wanted to come. I was delighted to hear from you. Though, to be fair, after our last encounter, I was slightly puzzled why on earth you'd ever want to see me again.
Well, a lot's happened in 6 months. You're looking well, too. Less round-shouldered.
Well, there's a good reason for my improved posture, but first things first. Why the urgent message from Daff?
I just wanted another chance to talk with you. Get a few things off my chest.
Sounds ominous.
Oh, no, don't worry. It's just that it's the first anniversary of Pete's death. He died a year ago today, and I want to finally lay him to rest.
I thought you'd scattered his ashes the last time you were up here.
No. Couldn't quite bring myself to do it last time. In fact, it was only last week that I finally summoned up the courage. Pete's ashes are now blowing in the breeze on a quiet hillside overlooking Bath. Well, most of them are. I did keep a token amount of ashes in a small tin, so it's not quite done and dusted.
You're going to keep them? Kate? Kate!
Coming, Pete! What's the matter?
What's this?
What do you mean, what's this?
I mean, what's this?
You can see what it is.
Looks like a new doormat.
That's because it is a new doormat.
Where's the old one? Where's the one that's always been there?
It was threadbare. We needed a new one.
My father wiped his boots on that mat. My father, the man that built this house, the house that gives you shelter.
I'm sorry. I wasn't aware it had sentimental value for you.
I know what you're up to.
Up to?
You'd make a doormat out of me, wouldn't you? Eh?
What do you mean?
Given half a chance, you'd walk all over me.
What are you talking about?
I'm talking about you continually taking the piss!
Please! It's only a doormat.
And how much did this only a doormat cost?
No, not much.
How much?
£8, £8.50, maybe £8.90.
£9 of my money on a doormat we don't need.
Sorry, it didn't seem like a huge amount of money.
What have I told you about household expenses?
That I should check with you first, but...
No buts, Kate. You check with me first. Every expense. Now, has that finally managed to penetrate your thick skull?
Yes.
Good. And understand, I will not be putting one foot on your stupid doormat. So you just better return it to whatever rip-off merchant you got it from, then hand me the receipt and every refunded penny, understood?
Please.
Understood!
Yes, but...
Good. I also expect Dad's old doormat to be put back where it belongs.
But
Quiet! I don't want to hear your pathetic little excuses. I don't even want to speak to you.
Please.
In fact, I can't even bear to look at you.
For God's sake,
Until you start showing me a little respect, understood?
Respect.
Understood.
Yes.
Good. You're going to keep them?
No.
What are you going to do with them?
Well, the plan is to scatter Pete's remaining ashes on the ground somewhere near this bench, and then I'll firmly dig the heel of my foot onto his little carpet of meaningless dust, gaze at the view and shout at the horizon, "Take that, you bastard!"
So, is the old Kate back?
Oh, don't worry, Horton. The old one's gone for good, but hopefully a new improved one will turn up eventually.
I think she's here already.
No, not quite. But before I get down to all that closure business, tell me your news. Why the improved posture?
Well, I too have had an interesting 6 months.
Oh, do tell.
You sitting comfortably?
I am. I take it this is good news.
Well, prepare to be rendered speechless.
Me, speechless.
Good point. Well, maybe not speechless, but prepare for your jaw to hit the floor.
What's happened?
Well, in many ways, it's all down to you.
Me.
It was our conversation on that very bench, all about life, death, and meaningless dust.
Dog poo.
Survival techniques.
You said your technique was humour.
I lied.
I know.
You know.
Well, it had to be a lie. You never said anything funny. Joke.
Yeah, very good. And what I mean is that my technique was lying to myself, if that makes sense.
I'll get there eventually. Carry on.
It was on my way home after our last conversation. It suddenly dawned on me that I had spent 30 years with my head in the sand, trying to pull the wool over people's eyes.
That can't have been easy for you.
It wasn't. Well, I'm not for a moment suggesting that my life with Morwenna was anything like as difficult as your life with Pete. But from that moment, I decided to stop lying and carpe the diem.
Carpe the diem. If only we'd been this wise 30 years ago.
If only. But looking at that, I won't believe. I can't believe that either of us are predestined to be unhappy for what's left of the rest of our lives.
Fine words, butter no parsnips, Horton.
You're right. Yeah, words are far too easy. It's the doing that matters. Does that make sense?
Yes, of course. Is that it?
No, this time there has been more than words. This time there has been action.
Action.
Well, as you know, Morwenna was a widow before I married her. And to be fair, ever since our wedding day, she has yearned to return to her widow status.
I hope you're not planning suicide in order to make Morwenna a happy widow.
Not on your Nelly.
So what's the action?
Well, if I can't oblige Morwenna by dying, the least I can do is divorce her.
You're divorcing Morwenna?
I am.
Well, what will you do?
I've moved in with Antonio.
The gardener?
Yes.
The one with the remarkable eyes?
Yeah. Did I mention his eyes?
I think you said they were brown.
Oh, they are. They're brown.
Lovely.
You're not shocked?
Of course I'm not shocked. Not even surprised.
Really?
Well, surprised maybe it's taken you so long.
Oh, goodness. You guessed.
I wondered. You tried a little too hard sometimes. Oh, I'm delighted for you both.
Thank you. Oh, that's wonderful. I mean, we're hoping to set up our own little garden design business together. I'll do the designs. Antonio will do the work. All we need is a backer.
I see. Sounds like a plan. How's Morwenna taken it?
Well, secretly delighted, but she can't be seen to be happy about it, of course. There's too much misery mileage in being abandoned by her husband for a green-fingered Italian.
with brown eyes.
Oh, did I mention his eyes?
You did. I'm happy for you, Horton, but it would be perfectly understandable if Morwenna felt a little hurt.
Oh, of course. It would be perfectly understandable under normal circumstances. But secretly, Morwenna's as happy as Harry,
Larry.
and I am on cloud 7.
9.
Pardon?
Nothing. So you honestly believe Morwenna is secretly happier?
Of course she's happier. She's finally got shot of me.
Yes, well, that's true.
Well, no need to agree quite so readily, Kate.
I'm joking. Congratulations.
Thank you. More tea?
Please.
Well, now it's your turn.
Oh.
What's it like being back in Cheltenham?
Oh, I cannot begin to tell you, Horton. It's wonderful. It's like being reborn. I can't begin to explain the relief of no longer living in fear.
Fear?
Fear of Pete's mood swings, his constant criticism, his temper, his disgust. The woman you remember, Horton, ceased to exist. I no longer knew what to think, what to feel. I just perfected the art of walking on eggshells, trying not to offend, trying not to be noticed, hoping to disappear.
Did you hate him?
Yes, I did. I still do. But there are times when I feel incredibly sorry for him, sorry for whatever made him the way he was. Mostly, though, I was afraid of him. And I don't think it's possible to truly love someone you live in fear of, is it?
No, I wouldn't think so.
For years, I assumed his increasing irritability, his failing mobility, his growing confusion were all down to the inordinate amounts of booze he consumed, which, in a way, of course, they were. But he insisted there would be no doctors in his house.
How'd you get round that one?
Eventually, there was no choice. He fell badly, fracturing a hip. And then one thing led to another, and after a few tests, including a brain scan, he was given his diagnosis.
What, the drink-related?
Dementia, yes.
Is that how he...
How he died? It's not what actually killed him. Certainly contributed towards it, of course, and completed my metamorphosis from spirited, normal human being into a cringing, pathetic, unloved wiper of my lord and master's arse.
God, I'm sorry, Kate. Do you mind me asking, if it wasn't the dementia that killed him, what did?
I did.
Sorry?
Does it matter how the bastard died?
Well, yeah, no, I mean, I'm sorry, I thought you just said that...
The death certificate says drowning.
He drowned?
In the bath. He didn't enjoy bath time. Hated water anywhere near his face. Always kicked up a fuss.
He drowned in the bath?
The water was nice and warm.
Oh, well, that's all right then, as long as the water was nice and warm.
Sarcasm.
Well, to be fair, Kate, this comes as a bit of a shock.
Well, if it's a shock for you just hearing about it, what do you think it was like for me? His saggy, wrinkled old man flesh submerged in swirls of pinkish water.
Pink?
Pink. Marbled with streaks of red radiating from the back of his skull.
Oh, my God, you hit him over the head. What instrument did you use this time?
Of course I didn't hit him over the head, Horton. He hit his own bloody head, falling backwards into the bath. On the taps.
On the tap?
On the taps.
Oh, how?
He was sitting on the edge, and I was trying to dry him. Rubbing him down with a towel, getting him ready for bed.
So what happened?
He was perched on the edge and I knelt down to dry his feet. If I didn't make sure his feet were nice and dry, he'd get itchy flakes of red skin between the toes.
Oh, acrobat's foot.
Athlete's foot.
Oh, that's the one. Morwenna gets it.
Does she? It's very common. Though I can't imagine Morwenna would appreciate your sharing that particular bombshell.
God knows she'd be livid if she knew I'd even mentioned it.
Well, I promise not to tell anyone about Morwenna's manky foot condition if you promise to keep mum about my late husband's murder.
Oh, my God.
Please, Pete, try again. Just lift your foot a little for me. Let's get these toes nice and dry before we get you into bed.
Oh, me. Where's Kate? What have you done with Kate?
It's okay, Pete. It's me. Yeah, I'm here. I'm Kate. I'm only trying to get your feet nice and dry before we get you into bed.
Kate's not grey. Get off me, you grey-haired old hag.
No, please, Pete. I'm only trying to get your
Not
feet.
grey, not
Please,
grey.
Pete.
Get off me, get off me. I'm sorry, Kate. Thank you for all you do for me. I'm sorry.
He was perched on the edge of the bus, gazing down at my exposed grey roots, shocked to discover I was no longer a natural brunette. He thought I was some stranger. He called me a grey-haired old hag. I was used to all the swearing and name-calling, but for some reason, on that particular bath night, something snapped. I had the worst, most crushing and unbearable realization of my life. I realized this was my life. I looked him directly in the eyes, and with my towelled hand below my husband's foot, I had the most overwhelming urge to hurl him backwards into the bath.
Oh, my God.
He looked straight back at me. For the first time in months, there was eye contact. And then, in a completely lucid voice, he said, "I'm sorry, Kate. Thank you for all you do for me."
He said thank you.
He said thank you.
Well, that's good, isn't it? What did you say?
Nothing. I ran.
Ran.
I got up and ran out of the room, down the stairs and into the garden, walking round and round in circles, sobbing.
So, you didn't actually push it?
I wanted to. I was about to. I wanted to thrust him backwards so hard into that bath, with all the force that 30 years' worth of pent-up anger had given me.
But you didn't.
How could I? How could I? When he just looked at me and said, "Thank you." In that moment, I had this image of Pete striding across Cleeve Hill. We were happy then, before the taming was complete, before the drinking, before the fear, before the illness, before I understood just how damaged he really was. I remembered us being here when I was happy and full of hope.
There's always hope, Kate.
No, that's why I wanted revenge, because Pete destroyed hope. He destroyed my self-belief, my self-worth. I'd had enough. And then the manipulating bastard chose that precise moment to say thank you, and all my anger, all my strength, gone.
How long were you in the garden?
5, 10 minutes. Then I came back in, went upstairs, looked in the bedroom where I assumed he would be, but he wasn't there. Panicked. I raced into the bathroom and there he was. In the bath, with a surprised look on his face, lying under the pink water, drowned.
He fell backwards. You didn't do it.
No, but he only fell backwards because I wasn't there to stop him. I should have been there.
Well, it was an accident.
For the first time in our marriage, he sounded grateful. And he actually said sorry. I was accustomed to any amount of abuse, but when he spoke to me in a gentle voice, when he was kind, I couldn't cope.
Kate.
I couldn't take it, and so I ran, leaving a demented old man teetering on the edge of a bath full of soapy water.
But you didn't do it. It wasn't your fault.
That's what Dav said. She said it was an accident. I shouldn't blame myself.
Well, she's a smart girl. You said so yourself.
I know, but I can't help feeling responsible. Feeling like I might as well have pushed him because I should have been with him.
It wasn't your fault.
What if somehow I willed him to fall backwards? What if he knew I wanted him dead?
Kate, I mean, there's no blame, no guilt. It wasn't your fault.
Do you mean you really think I have nothing to answer for?
Of course I mean it. Every word. And to be fair, how far should we go back in the blame game? If there is blame, maybe Pete's death is my fault. Well, it was because of me you both met. I went along with his schemes, placing wagers on whose wife would be the most obedient. I didn't concern myself too deeply about his methods.
You don't think I'm a bad person?
Of course you're not bad. You're brave, feisty, spirited. And in spite of everything you've gone through, Kate, you're a survivor. Remember, none of what's happened is your fault.
It's not?
No, of course not. Shout it out loud from the top of this hill.
What?
Shout out loud. It's not my fault.
It's not my fault.
Shout it.
It's not my fault.
Louder.
It's not my fault.
Louder.
It's not my fault.
Oh, okay, no need to shout.
Oh, Autumn. Why did it have to be like that? If it must be so, let's not weep nor complain. If I have failed, or you, or life turned sullen, we have had these things. They do not come again.
But the flag still flies, and the city has not fallen.
There's nothing new, is there? Who wrote it?
Humbert Wolff. 1885 to 1940. I read those exact words to Morwenna just before I packed my bags.
What did she say?
She told me to fuck off.
To be honest, I can see why she might say that. I like it, though. I'd like to believe I'll live to fight another day.
Well, there's many a slip between cup and saucer, but I think we're in with a chance.
Cup and lip. Lip.
That's the one.
Oh, you can see for miles. Amazing. Thank you, Horton,
What for?
for listening again. For for making the horizon seem less daunting.
You like the view?
It's awesome.
My work here is done. More tea?
No, thanks. Morton, I was hoping that we might meet up every now and again. Walk the common together, maybe.
Yes, of course. I'd love that.
Also, I'm not sure how this might work, but if you and Antonio are looking for someone to back your new garden venture, well, don't get excited. I mean, I'm not rich, but I am once again in charge of my own purse strings, and I'm looking for a small business to invest in, one with potential.
You mean you might be able to?
Well, let's not count our hens before they're hatched, Horton, but who knows?
I think you'll find, Kate, the correct expression is let's not count our chickens before they're hatched, not hens.
Is it? Are you sure?
Yeah, absolutely. Almost certain. I think.
If you say so. Let's talk.
Yes, let's. Oh, come for dinner. Bring Daphne. Amongst Antonio's many talents, he can also cook.
That would be lovely. Thank you.
Great. I'll be in touch very soon. Take care, Kate. Bye for now.
Bye. And thanks again. The flag still flies. And the city has not fallen.